My first grader recently had a school performance for the holidays, and before it was game time, he was so excited. It's like, this is a big day for me. It was just really precious, all the build up to it. And I was like, dude, when you get up there, if you want to smile or laugh, just let her rip. Like, don't try to hold back, because a lot of times with my own kids, but I've noticed with lots of kids, and I'm sure with me as a kid, um, there's a tendency to, like, you're up there, you're on the risers in the school cafeteria, you feel a little nervous, a little silly, you see your best friend across the cafeteria, and you want to laugh, but then you're not sure because you're supposed to be serious and air quotes professional as a 6-year-old can be, and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, you gotta, if you're up there and you want to smile, just go full cheese, just surrender, let it rip, like ear to ear. If it takes up your whole face, spectacular. And if you need to giggle, great, because if you can't giggle during a first grade musical, then what are we doing here? And I shared this story with my clients this week because we were just talking about the holidays and the ups and the downs and the all arounds of this season. And we were talking about just savoring the moments that you notice, like, when you're in a moment where it's like, and it doesn't have to be a big one. Often it's not. It's the everyday, mundane, in between kind of moments that can be really sweet or really silly. And I wanted to anchor this in for us here in hopes that this example, and I have another one to share with you too, but in hopes that this helps you see and catch yourself if you do find yourself kind of trying to put a lid on your feelings. I mean, specifically, especially smiles and laughter, because although I do believe in the bigger picture, divine order, everything is, happening. It's all about our perceptions and blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, some ish can seem really hard, and some stuff just seems really fun, light, and joyful on the surface, according to our values in the moment and our perceptions and all of those things. And so, if we don't actually, and this also is inspired, I know I'm interrupting myself here, but Corey Mascara on Instagram also had a reel about this recently, where it was the same idea around, like, really bank up those air quotes good moments, because inevitably we're going to have the tough ones, and this can serve as fuel. So I want to note that too, that that's part of the inspiration and the collective conversation here. But it's like, if you find yourself holding back on really feeling the joy of a moment, or really just letting yourself go with a hearty chuckle, deep belly laugh, tears in your eyes kind of thing, let this be your reminder to let that inner first grader just bust it out. You know what I mean? If you're in my close family and friends, you've experienced the spectacle that is my very obnoxious laughter fits. And it's you never know when it's going to hit or what's going to set me off, but when it does, it's at the point, it's so obnoxious. I mean, I'm like squealing, screaming, laughing. I cannot, it's literally uncontrollable. So this is my best example of, literally, I just have to surrender to it, and so do the people around me. Like, I understand how obnoxious it is, and I can't help it, because what happens is, whatever the moment is, I keep replaying it in my head over and over. It may not have been funny to anyone else, but then it becomes this little cycle in my head, and it's literally like a fit of laughter. It's to the point where my children are even like, yeah, just let her do her thing. She'll calm down in a little bit, and there'll be like aftershocks, and then it's done. But I have to surrender to it, because it's literally like it takes over. It's just the one thing that might set me off. And it's so worth it. Like, I feel like my whole physiologic, it's a release. It is a thing that my body and my system needs every now and then, at least once a quarter, maybe once every other month or something. So I'm just saying this because also a lot of times in the day-to-day, we can go really grayscale. And I think it could be a protective mechanism of some sort, where we're holding back. Or Brene Brown on Oprah years ago talked about the idea of foreboding joy, of like something so sweet, and then you're just expecting the other shoe to drop or something terrible to happen or whatever. And maybe it will, but it probably won't. And then we never actually fully enjoy those moments that we're in. And so, hang on just a second. Oh, Noe. She recently learned how to open doors, and I should remember that when I'm recording podcasts. But anyway, the point is, something horrible may happen, but very likely it won't. And then even if it does, wouldn't you wish that you had really banked the sweetness of that moment or the hilarity of the moment and used it as fuel to get through whatever the next thing is, to fuel and store up, as opposed to numbing and then missing out. And then you really wished you had those memories to draw on. You know what I mean? So now Jeremy's in here. Okay, so that's the point. Full cheese. And this goes both ways. It goes to the other side too, around if you're feeling upset about something, instead of trying to numb out to that and bottle that up, then it's like fully feel that so that it doesn't get stored in your system and then come back later and erupt with even more pressure. You know, if you need to cry, let yourself cry, as opposed to numbing that. You know, let it be heaves, the most dramatic spectacle. Like I said, whether you're alone or in public, like do what you got to do to feel your feelings, because we came here for a reason in this lifetime, to feel the feels. I believe, you know, that we all come from spirit, and then here we are in physical form. And physical form sometimes is hard, and sometimes it's hilarious, and lots of times it's both. And so I'm sharing this in hopes that you will think of these examples, the one around first grade on the risers trying to be, you know, cool or whatever. It's like, cool is authenticity. You know, it's like what you're like, just honesty, basically. That's what cool is to me. Like someone who's not afraid to be goofy and giggle if they need to giggle, or smile when they really want to smile. You know, it's not about holding back. And so that goes for all the feelings. And then when you think about it, it's like, when I'm saying savoring it, that makes me think about tasting your food before you. I say that to my kids too. I'm like, chew it, savor it, have a ratatouille moment. You know, in Ratatouille, he like closes his eyes when he's tasting the wine or the cheese or whatever. And there's this beautiful visual. It's all black, and then you can see the flavors that he's tasting. And it's like, savor it, taste it. When we really take our time to savor and taste our food, actually that works better. It helps us digest it better, which helps it nourish us better, which is really the whole point. So that's another example that I'll throw into the bucket for you to help you see that, like really savoring it, tasting it, and just locking it in to really anchor in whatever the feeling is, whether it's hilarious or emo of any kind, that cathartic moment. Just let it roll through you instead of resisting it, because it's just part of the experience. It's on purpose. Okay, that's what I got. Let me know your thoughts. Hit the link for the comment box. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll meet you back here soon. Bye. Okay, technically that was the end of the episode, but since you're still here, one, I'd love to thank you for spending part of your day with me, and two, I'd love to ask you if you would take 30 seconds, maybe 60, to leave a rating and review in your podcast app before you tap out today. If you've already done that, it's amazing. Please send me a screenshot so I can thank you personally, and know that sharing this episode with a friend has the same magical powers, and I deeply appreciate both. Also, in case you're listening to the end to see if I ever actually introduce myself, hi! My name is Nikki Elledge Brown. I'm the host and author of Naptime Empires and this here On Her Terms podcast. You can find me around the internet at Nikki Elledge Brown in most places, but what you may appreciate most is actually over at onherterms.com. It's what I call the insider library. It's where you can get inside scoop, first listen rights, email updates every time there's a new episode, and then special insider only bonus content. It's all over in our private feed. Okay, that's a wrap for real. I'll meet you in the next episode.